Namaskar everyone and welcome to the Geeta Satsang. Let us start with a prarthana. By the Guru's grace and the will of Sri Krishna, we have all assembled for this Geeta Satsang. May we have their guidance to be able to learn and adopt the things which will help us to grow spiritually. Let us chant the shlokas. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Krishnaya Vasudevaya Haraye Paramatmane Pranatah Kleshanashaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Namostu Te Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Pullara Vindayatapatra Netra Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajvalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha Ramanujadaya Patram Jnana Vairagyabhushanam Srimadvenkatanathaaryam Vande Vedanta Deshikam Yo Nityamachyutapadambuja Yukma Rukma Vyamohatastaditarani Trinaya Mene Asmadgurur Bhagavatosya Dayaika Sindhoho Ramanujasya Charanam Sharanam Prapadye. With prayers at the lotus feet of the Acharyas, let us take our shlokas. We are in the 3rd chapter, and in the previous satsang, we had seen up to shloka number 16. So today, we are going to take up the 17th and 18th shloka. They express a similar thought in continuity, so we are taking these two shlokas together. So shloka number 17, Krishna is telling Arjuna, Yastvatma ratireva syad atma triptascha manavaha Atmanyeva cha santushtas tasya karyam na vidyate. And in the 18th shloka he says, Naiva tasya kritenartho na kriteneha kaschana na chasya sarva bhuteshu kaschid arthavyapashrayaha. So in the 17th shloka, Lord Krishna is telling something which is totally different to what he has told so far. In the 17th shloka he says, but those who rejoice in the self, in the atma, who are illumined and fully satisfied in the self, for them there is no karma, there is no duty. Such self-realized souls have nothing to gain. Such self-realized souls have nothing to gain or lose, either in discharging or renouncing their duties. Nor do they need to depend on other living beings to fulfill their self-interest. So, these two shlokas, whatever Krishna is telling, is totally opposite to what he said in the previous shlokas. So, we have seen in the past few shlokas, right from the 10th shloka till the previous satsangs, 16th shloka, Krishna has been explaining about the importance of karma yoga. He has been telling Arjuna that you have to perform action, you have to perform karma, you have to live in peaceful cooperation with the devatas. You have to do your deva puja and yajna in this particular way. You have to do with what bhava you should be performing the karmas. How it is going to benefit you. You have to offer whatever the deities have given to you, whatever the Lord has given to you. In gratitude for that, you have to do yajna and homa and other things. And you have to perform those karmas in order to make sure that you are not called as an ungrateful person. And to continue to get the benefits, you have to keep performing yajna. So all this while, Arjuna has been told that you have to do yajna, you have to do karma, you have to do all that. Now in this 17th and 18th shloka, suddenly Lord Krishna shifts the focus. It is almost as if Arjuna has asked a question that, is it required for everyone to do this karma yoga? Like that. As if he has asked. Like that, Krishna is telling in these two shloka, he's telling about the category of people who are an exception to this rule. The people who do not require to perform karma. So here when he is telling, who are these people? Who are the kind of persons who don't require to perform karma, for whom it is not necessary to do yajna? He's telling in the 17th shloka, those who rejoice in the self, those who get joy by contemplating on the self. What is this self? The atma. Those who are fully illumined means lighted up, who have the knowledge of the atma and who are fully satisfied. They are getting all their contentment from being occupied in the self. That means somebody who has got atma sakshatkara. For such person, there is no need to do any karma. There is no duty that they have to perform. Now, what is it about these persons? Whether they do their duties or they don't do their duties, there is nothing for them to gain or to lose. And they don't need to depend on anybody else for their self interest. Why? Because they are totally occupied in the Atma. So, people who have not attained Atma Sakshatkara, for them, doing Karma Yoga is important. That is what Krishna has spoken in all the previous shlokas. Here in the 17th and 18th shloka, he is talking about the people who have already attained Atma Sakshatkara. Such a person is called as a kaivalyaarthi. He is focused only on the Atma. Kevala, only on the Atma he has focused. So such a person is called as a kaivalyaarthi. Somebody who has sought Atma Darshana, somebody who has found that Atma Darshana. So for this kaivalyaarthi, because he's already got Atma Darshanam, he need not perform any kind of karma. Now, who is this kaivalyaarthi? As indicated in that shloka, there are three features which, tell us about the qualities of a kaivalyaarthi. So this is a person who is always rata. He is always engrossed in the Atma. He is the person who gets tripti only from the Atma. And he is a person who gets joy or happiness by an experience of his own Atma. So this is typical of a kaivalyaarthi. Now, if we consider our status as of now, are we having this? Are we always engrossed in the Atma? Are we getting tripti from the Atma? Are we getting happiness and experience from the Atma all the time? That is the most important thing. That constantly, if this is true, then such a person is a kaivalyaarthi. Now, it is very obvious to us from this criteria that we are no way fitting into this category, isn't it? We are all the time lost in our worldly life. We are all the time lost in experiencing whatever we are going through because of this body. So we don't fit into this category of a kaivalyaarthi. So such a person, if already somebody is always engrossed in the Atma and getting tripti from the Atma and he is lost in that experience of the Atma only, then for such a person, he does not want anything more from the worldly people around him or from the gods or from anybody. He has attained whatever is the highest possible for him in that janma. So he need not look for anything else. So if he is not looking for anything else, there is no point of him, there is no question of him performing any kind of karma. So coming to explain these three aspects of a kaivalyaarthi, Swami Vedanta Desikar has explained this in terms of the concepts of something which is very important in the Sri Vaishnava philosophy. There are three, items which are required, or there are three things which are necessary for our life: Dhaarakam, Poshakam, and Bhogyam. So, that which we require to sustain life itself, that if that thing is not there, life will not survive. That is called as Dhaarakam. What is it that is required for not only sustenance, but to grow, right? To thrive, not just to survive, but to thrive. That is food. That is Poshakam. And what is it that is beyond this? That you have survived and you have thrived, but you are looking further for enjoyment, to experience something different from all these other things. That is what is called as bhogyam. So, if we actually look at a person's life, then water is the life giving force. That water is something which is going to sustain the life of that person. You may have heard of many people who do fasting and they eat nothing, but they only drink water and they are able to remain comfortably like that without requirement for anything else. That means that water, which is sustaining the life of that individual, that is Dhaarakam. Then what is it that we require? We think we require. Actually, we don't require, but we use it for the purpose of growth. That is food. the annam, what we are consuming, that is Poshakam. And although we may have these two things satisfied, but we often feel a need for the next stage, that is to enjoy and experience joys from things around us. That is what is called as Bhogyam. Like if a person has had water and he's got food to eat also, now he wants to have beetle leaf and nut in order to enjoy that experience. So that is called as Bhogyam. So there are these three things that are required: Dhaarakam, Poshakam, and Bhogyam. So we have these five senses which are given to us: the eyes, the ears, the nose, the mouth, the tongue rather, and the skin. So these senses, at the very basic level, they are required for a body to survive. We see with our eyes, we hear with our ears. With any of these senses missing, it is difficult for us to conduct our normal life. So that functioning, the very basic level functioning of the five senses is Dharakam. If I say that now using this tongue, I want to eat different types of food, I want to try different types of items that I can eat, then that is the level of Poshakam. And if I say, okay, in summer it is very hot here, I want to go to a hill station and stay cool and nice there, or I want to watch TV, or I want to, have some other kind of experience which is going to give me joy, then that is Bhogyam. So, who is this kaivalyaarthi now? He is the person for whom he is finding all the three requirements satisfied through the atma. Through his atma anubhava, he is having dharakam, poshakam, bhogyam. He does not require the five senses for anything. He does not require any food. He does not require water. He doesn't require any kind of enjoyment, because all the thing that is required, whatever is needed for him to survive, for him to sustain, for him to grow, and for him to enjoy, he is getting all that from Atma Darshanam. So, such a person, he is at the utmost, highest, most supreme level. He does not need to do yajna or deva puja. Now, if he does, he is already at the highest possible level. He is not going to gain anything by doing yajna, right? At the same time, if he does not do yajna, there is nothing for him to lose, because he has attained atma sakshatkara. So, when he is already attained that most important thing, there is nothing for him to gain or to lose. So, we cannot tell such a person that you have to do yajna, you have to do karma yoga. Why? Because by doing that, he is not going to gain anything. Nor can we tell him that, see, if you don't do, this is going to happen to you, because nothing is going to happen to him. He has already reached the highest level. So he does not require to do yajna, he does not require to do karma yoga for any reason. And he has no attachment to any worldly objects. He has no worldly goals to achieve. He has already achieved what his heart is set on, isn't it? So for such a person, for people who belong to this kind of category, there is no need for any karma yoga to be performed. Now, why Krishna is explaining this? Because he's trying to strike a difference between what is Arjuna's present status and what is the goal towards which he has to move. Now, if Arjuna had reached the stage of the kaivalyaarthi, there would have been no need for him to do any karma yoga. Then Krishna would have said, fine, you don't need to fight this war. You can go and sit in the forest somewhere and you can live your life in communion with the Lord. But Arjuna has not reached that stage. Arjuna is not at the level of a kaivalyaarthi. Arjuna is very much a grihastha and a kshatriya who is caught up and involved in this samsara. So for Arjuna's stage, it is not appropriate to say, I will not perform karma. I will not do these actions which are required of me. So Arjuna is being advised by Krishna that you have to perform karma yoga. So here to help us to understand this, how different things are okay for different people at different levels, the commentators give the example of a snake charmer who is having a snake with him. He takes that snake to different places and he will, blow that pungi, this thing, that instrument, and he will make the snake dance and he is living his life like that. Now, this person probably has often been bitten by the snake in the process of handling it, or maybe from when he was a young child he's been made to get used to that poison of the snake by, like, every day little that snake is biting him. So if there is a tiny bite and there's a small amount of poison which has entered into him, that venom of the snake, his body has got used to that venom, so he has built up a resistance to that venom. So for such a person, because he's got used to that and he's at the level where he's immune now, to that venom. Even if the snake bites him when he is performing his act, it makes no big difference because he is not affected by that. He has resistance to that. But what about an ordinary person who has not developed such immunity? Now, to such a person, what will happen? If the snake bites him, he is going to have a severe toxic reaction. He may even die. So, if there is a kaivalyaarthi who is always engrossed in the self, he is not going to be pulled down to the worldly level by anything or anyone. So, he need not worry about what will happen if I don't do karma yoga. The ordinary person who is very much only in the worldly level and not anywhere close to Atma Darshana, for this ordinary person, what happens? If he does not do Karma Yoga, he is going to get pulled more and more into the Papa Punya cycle. He is going to get more and more pulled into doing wrong things, and he is going to get to have to suffer the effects of those. So, for such a person, like the ordinary person cannot bear the snake bite, the ordinary person on the path of sadhana who does not have Atma Darshana cannot say, I will not do Karma Yoga. He has to do Karma Yoga. But the person who is already in the kaivalyaarthi stage, he does not require to perform Karma Yoga. So, to help us understand this, I will just give some 2 or 3 examples from the life of Sri Parashara Bhattar. So Sri Parashar Bhattar was one of the acharyas in the lineage in the Sri Vaishnava Parampara who came after Swami Ramanujacharya. Now, he was a very great bhakta. He was at a very high level. He was an acharya and he was in direct communion with the Lord himself. Lord Ranganatha used to speak to him. It is said that he was brought up literally by Devi of Lord Ranganatha in the Sri Rangam temple. So such was his level. Now, what happened once is there was another shishya, there was a shishya of his who wanted to learn how to do aradhana, how to perform what is called as tiruvaradhanam, the process of performing puja, like you can say Shodashopchara puja. So he wanted to know how to perform aradhanam of the Lord. So he went to Swami Parashara Bhattar and Swami taught him. He told him in detail that, see, you should get up at this time. You should do this. You should first have your bath. You should be chanting these mantras when you're doing it. Then you should collect all these samagris. They should be in pure form like this. You have to do all this. And after doing this, you have to perform these particular rites. You have to chant these particular mantras. You should do this first. Then you should do this. So a very detailed procedure he explained to that Shishya. And he told him, see, like this, when you do completely like this, you have to finally offer whatever you have cooked. That food has to be offered to the Lord. And with that, afterwards, you have to put the Lord to sleep. And then your aradhanam is over. And after that, you can consume your food. So this detailed procedure was explained by Sri Parashara Bhattar to the Shishya. So that Shishya said, he listened to everything and he said, okay. And he went back and he started following it. Now, one day what happened is he said, okay, he has told me, the Guru has taught me this and I have been trying to do it. Let me go and actually observe how Parashara Bhattar himself is doing all this. So that maybe I will get, some more idea or I will get some tips about some things to be done properly. I can confirm that what I'm doing, what I heard and what I'm doing is correct. So he goes to where Parashara Bhattar is there. So he goes and he observes the activities. So Swami does his morning, whatever rituals, his Sandhya Vandanam and other things and all. And then after that, he does not perform any detailed aradhanam and all that. He finishes certain other tasks of his and then he goes to sits down to eat. He sits down to have his lunch. Then suddenly he remembers and he calls out to some other shishya who is standing there. He says, bring my permal, bring my, vigraha, my aradhya murti. Bring it here, bring him here. I will offer food to him and then I will eat. He has already sat down to have his food. He remembers that, please bring the Lord. I have to offer to the Lord. He calls out to them. They bring the Lord in that whatever is the butti, that casket-like thing in which they have kept the Lord. And very shortly, by just saying one mantra or something, and one small tiny bit, what is there in front of him, this Parashara Bhattar places in front of the Lord. He offers it to him. He says some mantra, and then he says, okay, take the Lord away. It is over now. And now you serve me. And he starts eating. So this Shishya, who had learned that detailed procedure from the Swami, he is shocked. And he is wondering that what is this? He taught me such a detailed procedure. And what is it that he's doing? He just said he even forgot to offer to the Lord first. He sat down to eat. Then after that, he called the Lord. He said, okay, bring. And then he is offered something in hardly within 1 minute, and he is eating himself. So what is it that he told me? And there's so much contradiction. So finally, after Parashara Bhattar has finished his lunch, this Shishya gathers up the courage and he goes there and he questions. He says, Guru, I want to ask you a question. I'm having this doubt in my mind that day when you taught me how to do Tiruvaradhanam, you told me such a detailed procedure. Now, what I saw that what you have been doing is so small, is so short, so brief. Why is it so? He asked. So to him, the Guru replied, Parashara Bhattar told him that for you, even that big procedure is not enough. For me, even this small procedure is more than enough. So if we take this sentence at face value, it appears like he was talking in a very arrogant way, isn't it? But what he means is that for somebody who is at a spiritually elevated level, where they are in constant communion with the Lord, he's constantly talking to the Lord, he's constantly, his whole mind, body, everything is arpan and offered to the Lord, and he is doing everything as an instrument of the Lord. For such a person, that detailed krama may not be required. But for somebody who is not at that level, there is definitely that procedure to be followed. It is only by following that procedure repeatedly that he will get to that stage where he also does not require the detailed procedure. So I hope you understand the idea which is sought to be conveyed here. Similarly, another incident is told that once when Swami Parashara Bhattar was giving an upanyasa, a pravachana. So he was talking, and at that time he told people that, see, we should not be focused on this body. We should not spend time and energy in doing alankara of our body, because after all, it is sharira. We should not focus on the body. We should be focused on the mind and on the atma, and we should be focusing all our attention with our mind and atma. We should be thinking only about the Lord. So this alankara for the body is totally to be avoided. He told a very big lecture about this whole concept, that how alankara of the body is bad. Okay. Today evening he has told this upanyasa, this pravachana. And then next day morning, there is an utsava in the temple. And when all the shishyas come and they are waiting for Parashara Bhattar to come, he comes and then they see him. He is, of course, along with his Urdhva Pundra, the Tirunamam, what he is wearing. Along with that, he has anointed himself with Chandanam, and then he has worn some, jewelry, some abharana, some chain around the neck, some bracelet around the hand. Then he's wearing one very ornately decorated, very costly, grand kind of a shawl and all. And he has come like that. So the contrast is very obvious, isn't it? Yesterday, this person told us that don't do alankara for the body. You should not do. It is not to be focused upon and all that. And today he has come like this. So with great humility, one of his shishyas asked him that, Swami, yesterday you told us like this, but today you have come with so much alankara. So in reply to that Shishya, Parashara Bhattar said, he said, if we are thinking of this body as our body and we do alankara, it is wrong. But today I am going for a utsava of the Lord. And I don't see this as my body, but it is like the Tirumeni, the Lord's body itself. I am seeing it as a temple, as a residing place for the Lord. So the Lord, the Paramatma, is there inside this Sharira. So with respect for that, out of respect for the fact that the Lord is residing within this Sharira, I have done all this decoration. So I'm not thinking of it as my body and decorating it. I have done whatever I have worn, and whatever I have done is because out of to give respect to the Lord, to the Paramatma who is within this Sharira. So here again, we must understand the difference, that if an ordinary person decorates his body, it is because he wants to look good, or he wants to appear neatly dressed, or he wants to enjoy that, like when we wear jewelry or we dress up nicely, we wear makeup or other things. What is it that we are trying to do? Either we are looking at beautifying ourselves. We want to feel good about ourselves. We are wearing all these fancy clothes and doing all the makeup and other things. for our own benefit, that we want to look good, we want ourselves to feel good, we want to get confidence from the clothes and jewelry and other things that we are wearing. Or we also want that other people should look at us. They should say, oh, she's looking so beautiful. Oh, he's looking so good. We want other people to appreciate our appearance. So whether it is for my own thing or because I want compliments from other people, it is caught up at the level of the sharira itself. It is caught up at the level of the body itself. But what was the bhava of Parashara Bhattar? He did not look at it as his body. He did not do the decoration thinking that he wants to appear good or he wants to look good or he wants other people to say he is looking good. But his bhava was, this is where the Paramatma is residing. This is the temple of the Lord. So for that Lord, I want to do Alankara. For that, just like on the day of the Utsava, the temple is decorated, I will decorate this body because this is where also the Lord is residing. That was the bhava of Parashara Bhattar. So it is okay for Parashara Bhattar to decorate himself, but it is not okay for the Shishyas to do that. That is the idea he was trying to explain. So these are two things. Then there is another example which is given, same Guru, same Acharya, to show how there can be times when even in the karma yoga, in the karma which we are performing, we need to find out what is most important at that particular point of time. So every evening, now although a person is a great devotee of the Lord, he still has to perform whatever are the nitya karmas. So doing Sandhya Vandana is one of the nitya karmas which are prescribed for the uh, men of that particular station in life. So this Parashara Bhattar, one day there was an utsavam going on. There was some temple event. There was an utsavam going on in the temple. And it became evening. So normally the Sandhya time is when the twilight starts, isn't it? Around between 5:30, 6, like that. So that time came. And in that Sandhya time, still the Utsava was going on. And the Shishyas came to Parashara Bhattar and they said, Swami, you are here involved in this Kainkarya. He was inside the Garbhagriha in what is called as Antaranga Kainkarya. So he was performing some service to the Lord there and that most holy of places at that most holiest of times in the Utsava. So they came to him and they reminded him that it is time for performing the Sandhya Vandanam. So Swami said, it is okay. I will not perform Sandhya Vandanam today. You people can go and do it. Later, he explained to them that at that point of time, now naturally the Shishyas had the question, isn't it? That he has told us you should do, but he is not doing at that time. So will he not? Now, the thing about this Sandhya Vandanam is that doing Sandhya Vandanam is a rule. It has to be done. Not doing that will fetch you papa actually. So he told the Shishyas, you people go and do it. But he himself did not do it. So will he not get papa for having done it? So then Swami explained to them the concept that at that point of time, when I am involved and I am engaged in Antaranga Kainkarya to the Lord, I am seeing the Lord exactly in front of me and I am doing service to Him. So there, the importance is for performing that Kainkarya as compared to performing the ritual of Sandhya Vandana. But does that mean now the next day there will be no Utsavam and the time has come for performing Sandhya? At that time, can somebody say that, okay, now I will not do, anyway, I am in mental communion with the Lord, I am thinking of the Lord. Can he do that? No. At that time, if he does not do the Sandhya Vandana, the same rules will apply to him also. But at the moment of the Utsava, when he is involved in that Kainkaryam, in that Seva to the Lord, there it is more important to perform that seva of the Lord. So in that point of time, which is the action which is more important? So like this, always there is a question of relative importance also. So however, we must remember that for people at our level, it is very rare that there will be a situation where we are like this, caught up in some kind of very important seva to the Lord like that. So for us, the rule should be that we are not going to skip the rule anytime. So that is how we must take for us. Our bhava should be, I have been told to perform these karmas. It is my duty to perform those karmas and I will keep performing those as prescribed. Now, many times people ask questions. Now, we saw in all these stories, these examples which I narrated to you also, we have seen that the Shishyas ask questions. It is perfectly okay to ask questions. We must ask questions to clarify our doubts. We must ask questions when we don't understand something. We must ask questions if we feel that something is contradictory. Yes, but what should be the bhava when we are asking the questions? We must ask questions to understand the concept, or we must ask questions to know what should be our attitude. We should not ask questions to say what is the need to perform the karmas. We should ask the question so that we know how best we can perform the karmas. So that should be our bhava when we are asking questions. So for us, we are not at the level of Atma Darshana. We are not kaivalyaarthis, right? Later, when we go into the further chapters and all, there will be an explanation of how even being a kaivalyaarthi is a limiting step only, because such a person only remains in enjoying the atma. He does not go further to enjoy the paramatma. So even being kaivalyaarthi is not actually the ideal state. But anyway, for now, compared to this normal ordinary human being caught up in samsara, the kaivalyaarthi is a higher position. So for kaivalyaarthi, it is okay to not perform karma yoga, because nothing he is going to gain or lose from that. But for a person like us who are caught up in this world, for somebody who is like in the situation like Arjuna, the most important thing is to perform karma yoga. And we must use our buddhi. We must use our buddhi to perform our karmas in an effective way. We should not make our buddhi into an obstacle. The buddhi can be used very efficiently. But if the buddhi takes over and starts asking unnecessary questions, we must curb that kind of a buddhi and instead use our buddhi to perform our karma yoga in the right manner with the right spirit and bhava. So we must pray that Krishna will bless us to be able to do this. We have learned so much today about what it is for a person who has Atma Darshana and what it is for the person who has no Atma Darshana. We are definitely without Atma Darshana. So for us, performing karma in the prescribed manner is the way to go forward. Right? So we have reached the end of our topic for today. I hope the examples I narrated were you were able to connect them with the concept that was being taught. Because actually, in the lectures on which I am relying to explain these things, these examples were not quoted there. But from what I had heard previously, I have kind of put together that example with the teaching, and that is the reason why I explained those, hoping that it will help you to understand in a better way. Right? So we have reached the end of our time. Let us offer Kritagnyata, gratitude, at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna and Guru for inspiring us to start and join this satsang. And let us pray for their blessings and grace to always be on us. Thank you, everybody, for attending the satsang. We will meet again next week, Thursday or Friday, whatever be the day. It's okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for attending. Ranjini had put a message in the group saying that thank you for your commitment. So I don't think I have a right to take that, because if I had been more committed, actually I got held up somewhere with some other things yesterday. But if I had really been more committed, I would have conducted that satsang even later, even if it was at 8 o'clock or something. But I could not manage to do that. So still a long way to go in terms of increasing my commitment also. Let us hope that Krishna will bless to come to that level very soon. Right? So thank you everybody for attending. Namaskar. We'll meet again next week.